For those that were here last year, I think you can tell that it's a little bigger, about 120 people more this year. And I think that's just great in the way it's growing. Last year, the first year, it was a little crowded out of the DoubleTree. We didn't know what to expect, but things went very well, and certainly it's gone much better this year, even with the way the economy is. And to all of you, thank you for supporting amateur hockey in St. Louis. I do want to mention one thing. There's been a number of championship teams in St. Louis in minor hockey, but how about a nice round of applause for the St. Louis AAA Amateur Blues, who won the Quebec Pee Wee tournament recently. They've been going there since 1987, first time that this prestigious tournament was won by a St. Louis team, and Al McInnes and then John Wensink is here, are the coaches. Congratulations, Wire. Great job. And I don't know if you were watching the Blues game the other night, but the two backup goaltenders, St. Louis products, McKenna and Bishop. Not bad, folks. Not bad at all. Kerbs, I think that's it. It's going to be your job here now. Take over. So the voice of the St. Louis Blues, folks, Chris Kerber.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well, he just stole my two opening lines, so let me readjust the paperwork. He's also my boss, so he can do whatever he wants. But that actually is not why I'm here. I'm actually proud to be here for the second consecutive season. Thanks for having me. It's great to see some of the same faces from last year, and also some of the faces that we did not see at the first event for the St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame last season. Before we really get into kind of the pleasantries and the enjoyable aspect of what's coming your way tonight, we do want to pass along our thoughts to the family of Ricky Dodd. He is the father of one of the kids that Bruce had just mentioned that was on that AAA Blues team that went up there and won that tournament in Quebec, and right now he's battling stage 4 cancer in his brain, and our thoughts and prayers are out to him and his family in a tough time, and if each one of you would remember him as well, we would greatly appreciate that. First off, let me see a show of hands. How many of you were here last year? Wow, okay, so we're probably talking about half. So only half of you were here last year. You know what kind of a night you're in for. You're in for an enjoyable evening of some great stories. You're going to hear from some of the people that have made St. Louis hockey what it is. For those of you that are here for the first time, we hope that you enjoy what they were able to enjoy last season. And being that we've already moved it to a bigger hotel, being that it's already in a bigger area, it'd be great if we could actually fill this whole room up next season. So make sure when you leave tonight, you tell everybody about what you had. When you get asked to do an event, as I was asked, a month or two ago by the committee here to come and MC the event, you start to think, what are you going to talk about? And you start to go through your old speeches. Okay, I used that joke here. I used this joke here. I did this. Okay, and that way you make sure you don't double up. And I was kind of having a hard time figuring out how we were going to go tonight and how things were going to look. And Bruce kind of just alluded to this, but it really is kind of amazing how certain things come together. And I want you to really think about this. We are here for the second year celebrating St. Louis amateur hockey. We're here inducting people into the St. Louis Amateur Hockey Hall of Fame for the second year. Now, how long has hockey been around in St. Louis at the amateur level? Even long before the St. Louis Blues got here. And think about this, it's 2009, this is just our second year. But how does it all come together? Well, I'm sitting on the plane last night, got knocked out of the poker game early, I had an extra few minutes on my hands, and just kind of flipping through the Blues media guide. You can argue whether or not you think that this is the best trade in St. Louis Blues history. But I'll make the case to you right now that what you cannot argue is that this trade is the most important trade in St. Louis Blues history, in St. Louis hockey history, and I think a lot of you are knowing where I'm going to go with this. But you may not have understood the timing of it, and this is what I mean when things sort of come together. It was 21 years ago yesterday that the St. Louis Blues traded Rob Ramage and Rick Wamsley to Calgary and acquired Brett Hull. They also acquired Steve Bozak. But think about that deal. That was 21 years ago today. Now, why is that probably the most important trade in St. Louis hockey history? Because I don't know if what we have here today and what we celebrated a year ago actually happens without that trade. And there's enough of you that have been around hockey in St. Louis long enough that I think you understand where I'm going with this. What Brett Hull did in terms of his popularity, and this is not taking anything away from the players that played before him and the growth and the building of the St. Louis Blues, but the popularity of hockey, what Brett Hull did, absolutely exploded at the time. Now, how does that relate to what Bruce talked about? Well, we were just recently down in Tampa Bay and we played a game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We tried to give it to the Tampa Bay Lightning, but we did find a way to win it in the end to get the important 2 points. Prior to that, and I realize through some research that this may not be a complete list, so I apologize to anybody if I'm missing somebody. Okay, but two of the former NHLers that were born here in St. Louis that most people kind of know about, although they didn't spend much time in St. Louis, were Paul Ranheim and Pat LaFontaine. That doesn't really play into the story, but I didn't want to leave them out. But when you consider the fact that it was on March 7th of 1988 that the St. Louis Blues acquired Brett Hull, you consider the fact that it was Brett Hull that shot the puck into the St. Louis arena that knocked the building down. It was on that popularity that the now called Scottrade Center has been built. You saw youth hockey rinks popping up all throughout the area. You see a booming growth in youth hockey. And today, because of the work of the Blues alumni, and some of them and a lot of them are here tonight, because of their efforts and the other people that are up at this table, the inductees from a year ago, you're starting to see the fruits of their labor. But again, that date, March 7, 1988, Brett Hull coming to St. Louis. Cam Janssen plays for the St. Louis Blues. He was born in February of 1984. So as Cam Janssen starts to grow up as a hockey fan, who's one of the heroes in St. Louis? Brett Hull. Ben Bishop, playing now with the St. Louis Blues up with the team, was born in November of 1986. Now, of course, he was born in Denver, Colorado, but he's a St. Louis, and so, that's a no-brainer. Most recently, Mike McKenna, playing now for the Tampa Bay Lightning, born in April of 1983. You've got Chris Butler, who's playing with the Buffalo Sabres this season. He's also playing in Portland in the American Hockey League. He was born in October of '86. Pat Maroon, recently drafted by Philadelphia, having a terrific season with the Philadelphia Phantoms, third on their team in goal scoring. He's just 5 points off their entire team lead in overall points. He was born in April of '88. Now tell me that Brett Hull and that trade and the popularity of the St. Louis Blues as a result of it is not a direct result of each one of these kids and what's happened to hockey in St. Louis. So that is why we are here today. You are seeing the growth. You're seeing it, and you're seeing how it's happened with the team that Al McInnes and company took up to Quebec and wound up winning that series. So when you look at that growth, it leads you to think of what else is out there. Well, I don't know how many of you, but I'd like to see a show of hands. We're at the state high school championships down at the Scottrade Center just this past week. You saw MICDS and Priory play. When I was at MICDS, we didn't have a hockey team. And that was, I graduated in 1990. All right? So you see the growth there. You have Priory playing in it again. A couple years ago, Priory won their first. St. Louis University High School wound up playing CBC. They lost in a terrific game to CBC. But again, the growth is continuing. But the one thing you should take from those games, the crowds were outstanding for high school hockey in St. Louis. It kind of leads me to kind of wonder this, and I think this thought might hit home for a lot of you here tonight. I kind of sit back and wish that Father Biondi had a little bit extra vision to think beyond that little orange round ball that they throw into something 10 feet high and put an ice plant into Chaffetz Arena. There's no doubt in my mind right now that the return of Division I hockey to the St. Louis area could be successful. It could probably be one of their top revenue producers if they do it right. But when you look at the talent in St. Louis that's going around, you have 40 to 50 players right now playing either junior hockey or college hockey from the St. Louis area. And that's a direct effort of everybody that's involved in St. Louis amateur hockey, and I applaud each and every one of you for it.